CryptoConexión, tu puerta a la economía cripto.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Marco Sola with CryptoConexión. Today we're having a really interesting guest. His name is Russell Ballard Jr. He's with NEAR Protocol, and we're going to be discussing about the upcoming NDC elections that are going to be happening in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
September 7th and 8th. Starting September 7th and 8th up until the end of September. So we're excited to have you. How's your day, Russell? How are you?
Hey, it's sensational. Great start to my day. I'm in beautiful Lisbon, Portugal right now. Super excited to be here. Been looking forward to this all week.
Amen. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Why are you in Lisbon right now?
Man, I've been worldwide. Right now, so I am the community lead and events coordinator, amongst other things, for the NDC, which is Near Digital Collective, which is focused on restoring grassroots funding back to communities, right? A decentralized governance approach for the Near ecosystem. And so I just came off a stint where I was throwing events in multiple cities, helping spread the word about upcoming elections, about upcoming things that are happening in the ecosystem. And I went to start off in Toronto, helped launch a Toronto regional community. Then I ended up did a boat party there, or a yacht party. That was sick. And then we ended up going to Barcelona, did a beach cleanup and another boat party. Then ended up going to Paris for pardon me. We ended up going to Madrid after Barcelona on a whim and had a conversation at the Madrid Innovation Lab. Then went to Paris for ECC, did an event there, a few events, did a refi summit, went back to Madrid. Then now in Lisbon, connecting with the crypto people out here, because there's a lot going on here. It's like a hub for Web3 in general. So really came out here to politic and network and be around some great minds.
Amen. And how have these events been? I was in NFT New York for this year, and it was like kind of slow. So I wanted to know, how have the events been? Have they been positive? Have you been able to recruit a lot of people?
Yeah, great question. So I come from like an events background, and like also have a company called Proof of Vibes, which is an event production company, but also a global network of tastemakers and promoters. And so ultimately, helping curate these vibes, events I've personally thrown have been great turnout, right? Because I know the importance of creating great, experiences for people, and like how that leaves a great memory upon and what that does, right? And so when it comes to, we had a great turnout at Toronto. That was amazing. We were on a boat. Yacht had like 285 people. Some of the top people in NEAR. The founder was there. Great vibes, great music. Because, bro, every time I go to these Web3 events, right, I'm always hearing music. And I'm tired of it. I'm like, bro, put some reggaeton on. Put something else on. R&B. Put some, something. So I always make it a point when we throw events, we curate with the best music, best vibes. And so I said to say, yeah, it was super sick. Then we ended up doing something positive. I'm really bullish on refi, and so helping start the refi vertical on NEAR. And we did a beach cleanup, which had a great turnout, partnering with like local community to do that. So that was good. But I think the best event thus far had to be ECC, Funding the Commons. And Funding the Commons was launched by Protocol Labs, a venture studio focused on public goods and open source software. And make a long story short, they had a really, a sensational like side conference called Funding the Commons, where all the biggest names was in one room. Like, I'm in there, right? Boom, I'm late because I'm like a late to the party type of guy. I'm tardy to the party, right? So boom, I ended up going in.
Party. You're late to your own party. I love it.
Crazy, right? So it's like,
that's how I am too. Don't worry.
and I'm like catching like this panel conversation, and like it was talking about Zuzalu, which is like a pop-up city. And so I ended up, going taking a seat, and who do I see literally 3 feet sitting next to me? Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum. So I'm like, I'm like, yo, it's crazy. So like that was like the litness, and I'm like, yo, this is where all the things are happening. Those who are innovating this blockchain space, Web3, are here in one room, sharing information. And I really thought to myself, like, wow, there's a lot of people who won't ever hear this or be able to, be close to this and have, proximity to this information. So yeah, I'm just really interested in helping aggregate that and, make sense to people that look like us, bro.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a great job, so I'm really happy for that.
Thank you.
Can we speak a little bit about NEAR? You know, what is
Yeah.
NEAR? What are you guys building on NEAR? And what is NDC and why was it started?
Yeah, so NEAR is a layer one blockchain, similar, has proof of stake. It's a very technical chain, a lot of builders on it and whatnot. But ultimately, they wanted to decentralize the governance. They had a 5-year plan to decentralize, right? The foundation is kind of like the one who executes and does all the day-to-day operations, and they wanted to give that to the community. And so ultimately, our founder last year at HCC came up with a plan to launch the NEAR Digital Collective, which is a grassroots approach at restoring funding back to the community, a decentralized governance body focused on with 3 governing bodies: House of Merit. They're the ones who draw up proposals and create budgets for the community treasury to allocate funds to. Then you have the Transparency Commission. They're like the whistleblowers. They're the ones who make sure that there are no bad actors and there are checks and balances. And then you have the Council of Advisors, which keep the House of Merit in order and help determine like the North Star and like ultimately like what is the focus of the NDC, right? And so we have these 3 upcoming elections, and we're currently in nomination period. So those who have an OG SBT, meaning they have contributed in the ecosystem for at least a year, they've been tied to some of these other NEAR foundation or NEAR entities or ecosystems like Pagoda, Octopus Network, Proximity, all of these different entities within NEAR, and a few other stipulations. You can now claim your SBT, which means soul-bound token, aka a non-transferable NFT, and nominate yourself for one of these bodies. Okay, there's 15 seats in the House of Merit. There's 7 seats in the Council of Advisors, and there's 7 seats in the Transparency Commission. And so now we are in nomination again. People are nominating themselves, and we're helping candidates run and get voters. Now, this is the thing. In order to vote in the upcoming election, you need to have an I am human verification SBT. So this means we built an application. It's called I am human. I can share it real quick if that's cool.
Yeah, you can share it. Share.
So basically, it's a face scan verification anti-sybil resistant protocol, meaning one person, one vote. You scan your face through our third party partner, in which it takes like, all right, sweet. And boom. So check this out. So I and him, we have a goal of onboarding 3,000 users into the protocol. We're at about almost 2,500, and so we have SBTs. And in order to claim a SBT, you must first face scan, connect your wallet, face scan, verify, and emit your SBT. Right. And so you can see these are some of the SBTs. We have the proof of vibe soulbound token, a region soulbound token, and an OG soulbound token. And so, yeah, and there's more to come. These are all reputation on chain. And so these are help building it's basically like your resume. And so the more of these collect, the more voting power or more opportunity for funding you'll have and whatnot. And then on the nomination side, this is what it kind of looks like. Once you're ready and you are, ready to run, you can just nominate yourself. So you self-nominate, you'll pick which house you want to be part of. You can answer a few questions and then you can submit. And it's that easy. And then people can start giving you kudos or upvoting for you, right? So like, here's some people running, you can go ahead. And this is all on chain, which I think is really cool. But yeah, we'll dive into that later.
That's amazing. And wow. So how can people what's the difference between this and a regular like election? I think the election system that we currently have is kind of similar, but this is all on chain, so it's kind of like verifiable. So like you say what you are what you say you are, right? There's no way to like not do it. So how is it kind of different, and how is this going to evolve into how the elections are going to be ran up coming forward?
Yeah, great question, bro. I definitely think there's a few key things to note, right? Like first and foremost, this is it's a global election, right? Like a lot of elections we usually are, subject to are based upon country, region, local, whatnot. This is people running from China, from Africa, from New Zealand, people all over the globe, and it's permissionless. Like, you don't need anybody permission to run, right? There's a lot of checks and balances, especially in the United States, of like, rules and regulations, who cannot run. And I think, with a lot of internal, or what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of systemic racism, to be frank, that's like, is still like, still active and some of and lingers within some of the government and whatnot. Is really a system that was built on corruption, built on a lot of negative connotations and a lot of negative things. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of corruption what the heck? There's just a lot of corruption in the governmental system. And so ultimately it's not transparent, it's not, open source. But with this, you can see who's running. There's governing bodies that are responsible for sourcing out those who are bad actors. Everything's on chain. And so you can track where funds go to. Like, you can't track where campaign dollars are really going to for US politicians. And so so a couple of things again: global election, it's transparent, it's open, it's permissionless, meaning you don't need permission from anybody to run. You just need to hit a certain few, stipulations. And I think it's very exciting because this is our chance at really community governance, meaning like anybody from anywhere, if they can just galvanize their community, they can like build up their community and get them to believe in, a similar vision. You can really make something shake for yourself. And so, very exciting stuff. I don't think it's really possible anywhere else. And I'm really excited to really continue to build upon it. And I think this will be history in the making. And moving forward, we're going to have more fair voting policy. I think we'll have more like usage of governance through blockchain, right? Because a lot of people are in Web3 and they like haven't explored the governance layer of it. They maybe played around with DeFi protocols. If you're lucky, you might flip NFTs or like bought a Dogecoin, but like there's an entire separate world out there that is focused on governance and community building, and like it's just crazy. So,
and how many candidates right now have applied?
I think maybe like 30 or so. So not even that many.
Okay. Do you need more, or?
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely want as many people to run as possible. I would love to see at least 100 candidates run personally. I'll be running for House of Merit. And so I'm been galvanizing my community. Would love, you guys votes and to be part of this journey with us. But yeah, we definitely do. But again, you got to have an OG SBT and you got to fall into that criteria. So you got to be in a NEAR ecosystem for at least a year, or participated in a NEAR hackathon, or any things along these lines. That there's like a whole interview process for OG SBT.
Okay. And how are the votes going to be counted? Like, is it going to be on chain too? Like you said, it's going to be on chain. So you're going to be able to see like right then and there, like, hey, this candidate had this many votes, this other one has other votes. Like, how is the voting process going to be like?
So I think we're still determining what the ultimate rollout will be. We're building it as kind of we go right now, but everything will be open source. You can track it. We're using an auditing company called Pikes Peak to help with a lot of the security and a lot of the just tracking and stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. And I think, Russell, you're a great candidate for me to ask this question. How do you build a community? Like, all the parties that you've had, it's right now it's really hard unless you have like a well-established product, like unless you're like Bitcoin, Ethereum, NEAR, unless you're one of those, it's kind of hard to like find a community now for people to like believe in you. So like, but you're still building, you still have a big community. How have you been able to do it? And what's your recommendation for people in Latin America, like Asia, Africa, like all these countries? How do you build that?
You got to build trust first and foremost. So building trust within your community is the most important, integral piece of building community. You only get so many chances to do that. It takes a very long time to build up trust, but super quick to lose it. And so ultimately, what you want to do is have like points of contact with your community. I think rituals, right? And not like cultist rituals or anything weird, but like things that you can do together to help strengthen your bond, right? Like, there's opportunities. We do a lot of Twitter spaces and AMAs, and you can, in some of the other communities I run, we do like movie screenings and like just chill hangout sessions, office hours. All these things are opportunities to really be open, transparent with your community. I always think that's the best policy. When people are able to see you in a transparent way and you can connect with them, it's a deeper level, right? And so it's one thing to build a community and onboard people into your community, but it's another thing to keep and retain them and keep them active. And so ultimately, at some point, there has to be like a pipeline for people to be compensated, right, for what they're doing in the community. I think that incentivizes people even more. It's a fine balance between like getting grifters or people who are only trying to come in it for money and actually hardworking contributors, right? So there's a fine difference ultimately and something to think through. But when it comes to community, you gotta continuously build trust with them. It's all about being a trust network. I heard Manu say that from East Barcelona from Doing Good, and that's really stuck with me. So you got to just find commonalities, really find out who your target audience is, and start, just connecting with them and going out there and shaking hands and kissing babies, like being amongst the community. You got to be in Twitter spaces or out IRL events or Discord or whatever the case might be. Wherever your community is at, you have to be there and, showing up constantly, just showing up.
Perfect. That's great advice. That's really, really great advice. So after these elections, right, what happens next? Like people vote, people get elected. How long are they going to be in office for, and what are their roles going to be? I know you mentioned like they have to like balance the budget, this and that, but how is that going to be, like measured? And like if someone is, like a bad actor, bad candidate, or not really good, how long will they be how long is their term basically?
So there's a lot of stipulations, a lot of checks and balances on the governance side. We can talk about it literally all day. A couple of major things to think through ultimately is we have a stimulus package, which will be like an initial budget for the upcoming governmental parties to, allocate and deploy. And so I think right now we're voting on it. I think the initial was like 2 million, but we will leave it up to community to decide and to poll on that and see, right, what the community would say. And so the elections happen, they start September 8th, they go for 2 weeks. So September 22nd, I think they end, or 23rd. And from there, we'll find out who won. And ultimately, the governing bodies will go into office October 1st. And so from there, there's going to be initial bills that are drafted up by the House of Merit that will need to be voted on to allocate and to deploy the community treasury. And so we'll see how it all comes together. This is our first election. And so we can, theorize and play hypotheticals and how things will turn out. But ultimately, only time will tell. And we're kind of figuring out as we go.
No, yeah, of course. It's just me thinking, like in the future. But this is really exciting. Have there been any other elections and other projects that you may know how they went, or not really?
Yeah, there was a regional community election within the NDC. It was really good intentions behind it and the thought process behind it, but ultimately it ended up getting, hacked. Somebody came up and got 500 people to scan their face and vote for them. And so we caught that and we had to blacklist those wallets and whatnot. So yeah, that happened. And there was a lot of fallout and blowback from that. But ultimately just communicating with our community and telling them like, this is what happened. There was, thought process behind it and good intentions, but there weren't that many safeguards. So it was a lesson learned and a way for us to like really experiment before we do our big election,
Oh yeah, and that's what's amazing about it. Like in a regular election, you wouldn't have been able to figure that out. In these elections, you're able to like sniff out the bad actors. So that's really, like I think that's one of the best things I've heard about, Web3 and crypto in general, like the governance. Can you talk a little bit more about it? Like how can people get involved? Like what are the websites? Like I know you showed them already, but if you could like tell them again, please.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you want to get your voter scan SBT. or face scan verify, right, in order to vote. That's the best way you can participate. So what you can do as a short link, you can go to proofofvibes.com/human. That's a proofofvibes.com/human and claim your SBT token. What you will need is a Meteor or a Here wallet. And I can send you these links after we get off the call here, but you're going to need a wallet, a NEAR wallet, and load it up with a little bit of NEAR. But if you need some help with a little bit of NEAR, I might know a guy for you, so we can send you some. But yeah, you're going to have to face scan verify, claim your SBT. And once you claim and mint your SBT, now you'll be able to, participate in NDC and, claim retroactive bounties, meaning you can come in, contribute, and then earn rewards for that. So if you're good at making content, or you're good at, Twitter spaces, you're good at educating, or whatever the case might be, you can come in and contribute and get a bounty or a gig within NDC and get, paid for your contributions. So there's that way you can come and contribute and join a work group. And these work groups are turning into constellations, which will be like their own independent. If you think about like a bazaar, right, or like a market, like there's different stalls and stuff, they would be different, stalls, different, shops, setups within this network that is NDC. And so you can contribute to different work groups, from AI to NFT to DeFi, refi, events, all types of different, whatever your kind of cup of tea is, you can kind of find it. And so join the community hub Telegram, or the NDC Telegram. You can go to join the movement, and you can find all the work groups there. So join the community, sign up for I Am Human, mint your SBT, and start claiming rewards.
Russell, I'm really impressed by you. I don't know if you're reading from a script or if you know this by mind. Like this is thank you for being part of CryptoConexión. Like I'm really happy that you're here. I forgot, like I genuinely forgot my favorite question to ask, and that's, how did you get into Web3 and how did you get into NEAR?
Great question, bro. We said the best for last. I love it. So boom. 2020 COVID happened, right? And I'm like, yo, I need to figure out something, because I was doing door-to-door sales before, right? And like I couldn't do it no more. And so I was like, trying to find something new. And like I was listening to podcasts, and like I had heard Earn Your Leisure and Mark Cuban. They were interviewing Mark Cuban, and they were talking about, like, if you can go back and learn anything, what would you learn? And he was like, DeFi. And I just Googled what DeFi was. I started learning all about it. I realized there's an entire economic system being built right underneath our noses.
Were you in Titan? My bad. Were you in
Titan? Nah, I didn't get like that. Nah, don't worry. No Titan for me. I was like close to it. Like I was researching it and everything. But like, yeah, no Titan for me. Shout out to Titan, man. RIP. So yeah, boom. I ended up learning all about DeFi, and then at the same time I was on Clubhouse heavy, and I was like listening to this OG talk about like blockchain, and like I was like, yo, you can own your own store, it's permissionless, you get all the proceeds, you don't get no cuts from no middleman like PayPal, you know what I'm saying? And so I was intrigued by that, and I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. I was like watching a lot of YouTube, reading a lot. I just got obsessed with it. And then ultimately I ran into somebody else. My college buddy had a friend who he had a nonprofit with, and they came to do like a march on Capitol Hill. I was living in Austin, and they came and we met, linked up. This is the first time I could talk to people about Web3, blockchain, DAOs, and not seem crazy. And so we ended up that day linking up and creating the 40 Acres DAO, which our mission was to create self-sustaining communities of color utilizing blockchain technology through education, empowerment, and engagement. And so like we just built that out, was sharing game with each other every day, and just, yeah, I continued to fall down a rabbit hole more and more. And as I was doing research and like learning about different blockchains, I stumbled across NEAR, and it really hit all the bookmarks for me. Like it was easy to access. They had developer help, the foundation was reachable. They had good developers on there building, they had applications, they had money to fund projects. So yeah, it was definitely intriguing. I went to Lisbon, NearCon last year for the first time. It was the first time I ever get out the country. And I'm like, yo, this is lit. And so, yeah. And the rest is kind of history. And then I ended up like, this is probably one of the most biggest takeaways I can give to anybody. Like, if you want to be part of a project, I think Web3 is so special because a lot of people are easily accessible, right? You can talk to someone on a Twitter space, go up and ask a question, or like a Telegram, you can ping them and add them, or like whatever. So like, go to your favorite community, add value, make them feel you, you know what I'm saying? Like, let them know who you are and what you can bring to the table, and you can really work yourself a role, you know what I'm saying? It might be not paid at first, but like, you know, you can just work your way up if you provide enough value. And that's what happened at the NDC. Like, I literally just came on, I was asking questions, I was like, everybody was talking about it, and like, I just worked my way into be a community manager and growth.
I love it. I love your story. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah,
Can you
thank you.
talk a little bit more about your DAO, please?
Yes, 40 acres now. So I run multiple projects right now, but 40 acres now is like this mission, right? The 40 acres and a mule, it was if you don't know, it was basically during after slavery, as hey, sorry about it. They basically enacted special order number 13, field order number 13, which ultimately gave land and 40 acres and a mule as a way of like, reparations.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We got you. Don't worry.
But they ended up taking it back, bro. And
really?
So like, yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. It's this idea that ownership, sustainability can come from owning your own business, own 40 acres and a mule, and like solidarity. All of these things, sustainability, solidarity, Black wealth, diversity, all of these ideals are synonymous with the 40 acres. And so we wanted to embody this on blockchain. So we did 40 acres in a DAO. And then ultimately we had a plethora of different initiatives. We've done hundreds of events at this point. We host stuff in every conference, traveling across the world, onboarding, teaching people about blockchain technology. And so, yeah, now the next mission, I really want to purchase land in Africa. I think that would be very interesting and really, create either like some sort of like hostel for people to go to, like nomads or like something. I'm still early stages developing through it, but I think it's very important for every organization, every DAO to have a sustainable business model. I don't think people talk about that enough.
Yeah. Wow. I love your story. What do you think that is? Like, why don't people, like talk about it? Like, you are right. Like, people need to, once you create a community, there has to be a way to be sustainable. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of esports, and esports, they're not really sustainable. Like, they have these content creators that they have their own communities, but they haven't found like a happy medium of how to like before, like there was pay-per-view, like before,
Right.
like the event, you pay you pay for the event to go, or you see the event like here on the TV. Now there's Twitch, now there's YouTube, like so much like free content that we millennials or like other generations are so used to, like free content, but there's no sort of compensation, and there has to be a way to create this happy medium. I still don't know what it is, but I think that's part of the problem.
100%. I definitely think that we're too dependent on, grants, sponsorships, scholarships, all of these things, rather than actually creating like sustainable business models, right? And I think it's because it's so early and so new. Those who are like hip to like blockchain and stuff might not necessarily have, prowess in like startup world or like how to create business models. Like, this is just usually like internet native communities coming together to like buy Pokemon cards or try to buy the Constitution, or like whatever. So for the most part, I think it's still very early on. There's not a lot of great examples yet, right? Like, I think one of the DAOs I think that I see, like MakerDAO, because I think they print Dai and they have like a sustainable business model. But outside of like DeFi protocols, community-based protocols, I don't see any community-based protocols like actually making money. I think Boys Club is a great example, but that's because they just hustle. They sell merch, they do events, they just hustle, right? And like,
don't worry, Russell, we're creating them.
Exactly. Come on, we're in the process. We're doing it. We're doing the work. I think to speak about esports, Black Hand, like they're a good example of a DAO, that esports team, and they're getting notoriety. They're like winning competitions and stuff. So yeah, bro. I think
I didn't know they were a DAO. Wow, that's crazy.
Black Hand.
That's dope.
Yeah, the founder's my homie. I remember they raised his name's Sursa. And so they raised like $1 million back in the day during NFT NYC. I remember that. I remember talking to them and everything, like just chopping it up. NFT NYC was the 2021 was definitely a pivotal time in my career, in my Web3 career, because it's the first time I was outside at a conference and like really connected with folks.
Yeah, I didn't go to 2021. Unfortunately, I went to 2022 and
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, like you said, you go out to these communities and go out to these events. I think they're really useful. And one last question. Where in
Sure.
Africa do you want to buy that land to
Man, I think Rwanda is very interesting. Kenya, Nigeria. I really am just super bullish, bro, on like this idea of franchising communities. Like I see like people building local nodes, right? Like Green Pill is a great example. Regions Unite, what else? Like Bankless DAO, all these fine like local communities they can partner with and create and help scale up their IP, their brand. So I think that's really interesting. And maybe it's not about even necessarily, land ownership per se. That is part of the equation. But like how can we partner up with people who are already doing it and just add on, bro. Ad hoc it or something.
Perfect. So Russell, I think we've had a great chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else to say. I would like to ask you if you could say your Twitter handle, your Telegram, or anything that you want, LinkedIn, anything that you want, so people can find you. Also about the NDC and about your different DAOs that you have. I would really like for people to like, get to know you, and if if you're cool, like if they can, they're more than they could go ahead and do it.
Nah, it's love. I appreciate the opportunity, appreciate the space, bro. This definitely was amazing. I had nothing but the best time. So I think ultimately a easy way to follow me on Twitter at Russell215. Follow me on IG, whatever, Russell.Ballard. Telegram is Russell215. To follow the NDC, I think there's our near DC, our Twitter pages. You can find us on Medium, and you can go to i-am-human.app to go to the I Am Human app, or easy enough, just go to proofofvibes.com/human, and they'll take you there. So yeah, and then if anything wise like Proof of Vibes, you can just go to proofofvibes.com. And yeah, 40 Acres, you go to our 40 Acres Twitter, and we have our link tree there with all of the different initiatives from bail bond funds to Saturday Book Club to just upcoming events.
I love it. So I think that's the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Russell. Thank you everyone that tuned in, listened to it. Please go ahead, check out Russell, check out the 40 Acres DAO, check out the NEAR protocol, and check out the voting system that's going to be happening in September, starting September 7th, right?
8th.
September 8th. Sorry about that. Start September 8th, and start voting for, look at your favorite, not influencers, but, your favorite candidates that are out there. I guess you could say that they're influencers in the near. Yeah. So check them out, and please go out and vote. Voting is really, really, really important, especially in this country and worldwide. Everyone is like one of the essential things in life. So without further ado, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Let's go. Thanks, Mark.
CryptoConexión, tu puerta a la economía cripto.